I chose to do a place-based lesson plan that is integrated with math. I was inspired by the activity sheet that we were given during class, and I chose to do a shape hunt. So for example, the students will be able to look at different places around the school to find particular shapes. The social studies standard that I picked for kindergarten is a geography standard for places, and the place is my school. The math standard that I chose reads as this: describe the objects in the environment using names of shapes and describe the relative positions of these objects using terms such as above, below, beside, in front of, behind, and next to. The reason I chose this math standard is because I feel like it'll really help them become more aware of their surroundings and be able to describe their environment that they're in more thoroughly. Some of the questions that I'll be asking the students to help them get to that point will be like, where did you find your shape? How did you find it? What kind of shapes do you expect to find outside? Or where else do you think you'll be able to find shapes? These questions are to get them thinking and realizing that there might be more to the playground than they ever realized. The objective that I chose for this lesson is, by the end of the lesson, the students will be able to identify different shapes outside and draw them. I will be assessing the students by looking to see if they're able to draw the shapes that they find outside, if they're able to label the shapes that they find outside, and also if they're able to describe them to me verbally. For example, if a child sees a flower, I will be looking for them to tell me, I saw the flower next to the tree. Or if they see a triangle on a jungle gym, they might say, I saw the triangle next to the monkey bars. It's a pretty simple activity. All they'll need is the graphic organizer that I created, a pencil, and a clipboard, and then afterwards when they go inside, they'll need their crayons so they can color it and kind of make it their own. Where the place is for the lesson is the playground. This is something that the kindergarten students love, and I thought it would be fun to get them to see the playground in a different way other than just for recess. Some of the adaptations for the kids in my practicum class that I chose were mainly focused on extra time, because in kindergarten I noticed that there's a lot of students who work at different speeds. Some of them might get done in 10 minutes, and there might be some that need 45 minutes. I made it so that way the students are able to bring the graphic organizer inside with them. So if they need to keep looking, they can look throughout the classroom and try to find those shapes. And it'll still satisfy the place-based requirements, because it'll help them understand their school better. Some of the instructional strategies that I wanted to use is by using a graphic organizer and cooperative learning. I made this lesson so students are able to work together. When they go outside, I don't want them to feel like they can't interact with each other or help one another. So if some of them are really struggling, they might be able to say, hey, like, show me where the circle is that you found. And I don't see it as the students giving each other answers because they're still able to see that shape and find it on the playground. So I want to give you a rundown of how the lesson will go. We will start out in the classroom, and so what I plan on doing is, for the engaged part of the lesson, is I want to lay out different objects on their table groups. So there are 3 main table groups. Each table group might have a small clock, or an orange, or a triangle instrument, a sticky note, and a sheet of paper. I will have the students talk with one another and tell me like what they notice about these shapes. And I'll help guide them in maybe the right direction if they're starting to say things about maybe their color or what the objects are, how they used. I might point out like, hey, can someone tell me what shape the sticky note is? And then the students will be like, oh, I can tell you that this is a circle and this is a square and, you know, a triangle. After this, I would like them to say, I want to have a nice discussion with them about, do you guys notice that everything's made up of a shape? What other shapes do you notice in this classroom? And then the lesson will evolve it'll turn into, where else can we find shapes? And I'm hoping that the students will eventually say, like, ooh, let's go outside and look. And if that's the case, then that'll be perfect. If not, I'll just help lead them in that direction. After that, I'm going to have them line up, and I will have them grab their clipboards and a pencil, and I will hand out the graphic organizer. I'll let them know, like, they need to stay within the playground area, and then they're set free to go, and they're allowed to work with each other. I'll be outside monitoring them, and while they're working, I'll ask them questions about where they're finding their shapes, where else they might find shapes, why they knew to look there in certain places. I'm pretty excited to see what students would be able to do with this, because I'm sure kindergartners will come up with things that I never even thought of. After they are done with their shape hunt, or at least most of them are done, we'll go back inside and we're going to have a discussion about what they found. The main thing that I want to get across during the discussion is that within the school, like, there's so much more to every part of the school, and there are so many details that they may not think about. And I'm hoping what they take away from this lesson is that when they go outside, they may start seeing more shapes, or when they're in the classroom, they might be looking for them, because they think it's really fun. And they also might find new things on the playground, or things they never even noticed before. And it'll just help them become more aware of their environment and where they're spending every day. I plan to assess the students by the time when I get to discuss with them and talk to them on the playground, but I'm also going to have a rubric, and the rubric basically is like based on whether the students are able to fully complete the assignment, mostly complete the assignment, or not at all. It'll also be based on how accurate their drawings and labels are. One of the questions for this was, use what I've learned about the purpose and goals of social studies for this lesson. And the one that I thought matched best with my lesson is social understanding, which is the knowledge of people and places near and far. I believe that this one really helps the students understand, like, what's right there in front of them. Because for kindergarten, it's kind of hard for them to see past what's maybe going on, like, right in that moment. And school is a huge part of their life at that point. It's so new and exciting for them. And the playground, of course, is such a great place for them. Some of the skills that I would like the kids to take away from this is observation skills. That's something that they're going to carry out with them through the rest of their lives. As I said before, they will learn to observe in a completely new way on the playground. I also want them to be able to look at things differently. For example, they will see the flower and they'll see a circle, and they might see the monkey bars and see the rectangles in between each one. I also think that it would be a really great way for them to begin to use descriptive words, not only for math, but it's also helping them describe things in their environment. And that's really important to become aware of where they are and what they're getting to be a part of every day. I think the role that place plays in this lesson is to help the students really see their environment in a whole new way, as I've said before. It's not like they're getting to go somewhere completely new. I kind of like this one because it's like a place that they've already been to and they've experienced, but they're going to experience it completely different this time. And that's really exciting because they'll see that they can learn on the playground and play, and it's used for so many different things. I think the thing that I learned the most from this lesson would be that there's so many different ways that you can incorporate a student's environment, that if you're not able to go somewhere far away, that there's so much that they can learn about the place that they're at right now. For example, I really like the ones where they just talk about maybe Manhattan in general. That would be a really fun one to do with the kindergartners later on, like maybe towards the end of the year, and help them get to know, like, just their town. It also taught me that you can incorporate places in so many different subjects. I thought there was some really cool science activities, for example, measuring the stream, and that's a great way to incorporate math, science, and a place-based lesson. I definitely plan on using these when I start teaching my own classroom, and hopefully in my practicum and student teaching, because I think it's super important to help the students become aware of where they're at and all the different options and possibilities that are out there in their environment.